Welcome to my resume and portfolio. My name is Lisa Rudd, and I am presenting this portfolio because I am finishing up an associate's degree in web technologies, and I probably will be finishing my second associate's degree in computer information systems this coming spring from Southwestern Community College in Sylva, North Carolina. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about my background and why I would be an asset to you and your company, and what I'm looking forward to in my next position. So, I am looking for an entry level web developer or data scientist position, and my background is in science, particularly as a bench chemist and biochemist. So, in short, I had taken quite a lot of coursework and years of experience in both the biological and physical sciences. But then I sort of ran into the realization that just being a bench chemist is not going to be enough, as the industry has evolved and needs have changed. So therefore, I've gone back to school. But I don't want to totally abandon my past. I do want to find a way that I could bridge a career in IT with my prior career in science. So I have MS in biochemistry from Wake Forest University, um, an MS in chemistry with an analytical focus from University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and a Bachelor of Science in chemistry also from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Since then, I've decided to go ahead and become pretty computer savvy, although that wasn't my first field. Started out really with emphasis on the web tech program, but in the course of my curriculum at Southwestern Community College, I've taken a variety of classes. So I wanted to showcase some of the skills that I've learned. Definitely, I began with some coursework with HTML5 and learning CSS, as well as some basic markup of web pages, how to create a web page, and how to add some features like JavaScript, for example, to add a movie, something of that nature. Also, have learned some Photoshop and how to alter images and incorporate those into a web page. Have also taken some coursework with mobile app development, primarily using Objective C in the creation of apps for iOS. Have also learned a little bit with active server pages, and that was with VB.net, and also some content management systems also involved with maintaining and improving websites. And also, with my programming skills, I mentioned I took a course in Objective C, also took a course in Java, and also applied my knowledge in Java with using Java to build Android apps. And so I also did some app development using Android Studio as well as Eclipse. I know some basics about networking, albeit that's not my main area of focus. A little bit about security as well as the Linux platform, and a little bit about databases, primarily with Access. So, and also I did want to mention I did take a couple courses with game design at another college. Mostly I learned a little bit about C, and I thought it was just a fun way to learn another programming language. So, my IT experience so far has been really volunteer work at the moment, because I'm a student or just a student that's graduating. Some experience that I've had, I did help an entrepreneur develop a website for a magnetic wrench system. And so this was a simple website, but I did help a little bit with being able to add a video to demonstrate the product. And also, I was assistant webmaster for what is called ICANN, the International Cancer Advocacy Network. So basically, they had some web pages that were outdated, and they were trying to migrate a different style sheet. So they had some web pages with a certain font and color scheme, and other pages with a different font and color scheme, and also some pages that sort of had like placeholder images instead of pictures of the people that they were advocating. So I did work on some of those pages to get them convert to the new format. And then here recently, I have taken interest in learning the R program language. So I've been a trainee in the Department of Microbiology to learn the basics of R programming, and I've been collaborating with a professor in the Department of the Microbiology who's looking at inoculating mice with a certain virus and then looking at T cells that are expressed as a result, and then applying a linear model to that using R. So I did learn quite a lot just in this Coursera program about R, but applying it to real data has been an interesting challenge in that I noticed that unlike some of the training data sets, there are values that might be missing, and then learning how to deal with the fact that you have missing data sets and there are different models for how to deal with that has been an interesting learning experience. So I'm still learning with that. But I would like to show a few examples of especially my volunteer work so you can get an idea of what I've done in the past. Okay, I want to start off first with some work that I did with ICANN with the web page conversion. So basically we have different websites that sort of focus on a particular member that had, basically in memory of someone that had cancer and, asking for donations or support. So this was the old style, this purple and blue. And actually I did convert to a newer style. So for example, here's the newer style. So again, I worked on converting some of the pages from the old style to the new, and that was part of my project. Okay, another part of my project was the magnetic wrench system, and basically we had an entrepreneur that created a new product of a new type of wrench, and he needed a little bit of help with getting the video, getting the actual website up and running, and inserting this video, which I did. Okay, and most recently I've worked with some R data. So as I mentioned, this data set dealt with measuring titers that were expressed in mice. So above here I did do just a screenshot of my programming in R. So we had different titers, which were CD8 cells, and well, these are the T cells versus titer. So we had different T cells, CD8 through CD8, CD44, and then we had different titers that were measured in spleen in terms of plaque forming units per gram. And one thing I wanted to show you is that in this, looking at lab data, sometimes it's not idealized. So in this case, we had missing values. So when I compiled all the data that we had for the study, there were some data points that had missing CD8, CD44 values, and some other data points here that had missing titers in terms of spleen values for PFUs per gram. So I did try to plot these initially with the missing values, but then I had to try to come up with another algorithm to identify what to do with these missing values. So one of the goals of the project, I did create a scatter plot matrix, and so this is called a pairs plot because you pick two variables and plot them to see how they're correlated. So for example, the CD8 GP276 plotted against CD8 NP396 was scattered with quite a wide variety of distributions. You can draw a line through that, but it's not very well correlated. However, some of these other plots are much more linear, so you could kind of get an idea of which ones correlate and which do not. And I also drew a history, was able to generate in R histogram plots of titers, whether it be the CD8 and all the other T cells. And this again was with some of the missing data. And then I decided to come up with a model to figure out how to add in points. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. So the next thing I did was to determine how to deal with the missing data points. So in R, there's a technique called imputing data. So basically, you're filling in the blanks of the missing data, and you can either use an average or a median. So it's better to use an average in this case because it's less sensitive to measurements that are called outliers versus if you use the median value. So I use the average of my polled data to fill in the missing data for my CD8, CD44s, as well as I used polled average data for the missing titers. And then from there, I also created pairs plots both on a linear scale as well as a log scale. And part of that was, if you look at the values, you're looking at very large numbers. So if you plot the log of that, that you're going to get values that are going to be more manageable to view trends. Also looked at the different histograms. And in R, that you can create a really interesting plot here that basically you have a histogram and it's overlaid with a normal distribution, and I thought that was pretty cool to be able to show that sort of plot. And thought, well, from that you could tell that this is basically the average distribution around here from the histogram plot. And also created a scatter plot of those values, both on a linear scale and a log scale of all of the T cell data. So I do have some more modeling to do with this, but a very interesting project, a little bit of a stretch from a scientist, but definitely a lot that I have learned from it. Okay, I'm just going to do a very quick view of a few things I did in Photoshop as part of my education as well. So I did create a lot of different photos, work with different layers, different styles and schemes, just to give you an idea. And also to expand my mind, I created some board games, both using game design with different game engines, as well as even doing a regular traditional board game to expand my mind. So here I created a board game with different pieces that you can move and rules for how to design that. And that was sort of part of my IT education as well, but I'm not going to.
And I actually created.
And I might just briefly show you an app that I created with Android Studio.
Okay, this is my screencast for the Case Project 2.5, your Contacts app address book. So this one, basically you have 3 XML files. We have 3 Java classes, and also we have to make sure that we have actually.
Well, I'm not going to show the whole video, but basically I created a GUI where you have an address book where you could click on it, and then that will take you to a second screen with an image and some contact information. So here I had, if you clicked on Jack, you got one screen, and then if you clicked on the other individual, you got another screen. So that's an example of an Android app that I created. And then I also created, for example, a Visual Basic app where you could have a shopping cart application. So this was created with a module and several forms, And from that base module, you can actually have different drop-down menus so that you can get a list for different categories. In this case, the module is for a drop-down for print books and audio books, and then that took you to another form with VB code to select whatever book type you were interested in. And then I had code that would actually display the the selection and the price and give you a total price. So that's just an example of a coding project that I had worked on here. So example, you could get add to cart, and then it will put in the shopping cart and adjust the total, and you'd have different drop down menus for the different options. So hopefully this gives you an overview of what I've done in my career working on my associate's degree, and I look forward to applying my skills for your company, and looking for a very rewarding experience that's going to be challenging and allow growth and development for me, as well as it's going to yield positive results for any project that I work on and add value to your company. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time in watching my video. Thanks again.